Brunei in 2025 is one of those countries that somehow manages to stay rich, quiet, and controversial all at the same time. It's tiny, oil-rich, and ruled by one of the world's last absolute monarchs. And yet, it rarely makes international headlines. So, what do you need to know about Brunei right now? Let's dive into this royal enigma on the island of Borneo. First of all, Brunei is small, as I said, like really small. Less than 500,000 people. It's squeezed between the Malaysian state of Sarawak and the South China Sea. And it only takes a few hours just to drive across. But don't let the size fool you. Brunei is one of the wealthiest countries in Southeast Asia, thanks to oil and gas. Lots of oil, lots of gas, and not a whole lot of taxes. And that's right. In Brunei, citizens do not pay income tax. They get free education, free healthcare, subsidized housing, and all of that is bankrolled by fossil fuels. The state owns and controls most of the economy, and people generally get a slice of the pie. It's the classic resource-rich welfare state, but with a very royal twist. Because, as you already heard, Brunei is an absolute monarchy. Not a constitutional monarchy, not a parliamentary monarchy, a real deal old school, the Sultan decides everything monarchy. The current ruler is Sultan Hassan al-Bolkiah. He's been in power since 1967, and that makes him one of the longest reigning monarchs in the world. And yes, he's still going strong in 2025. The Sultan is not just the head of state, he's also the prime minister, the defense minister, the finance minister, and basically the CEO of Brunei Incorporated. He rules by royal decree. There are no national elections, no political parties with real power, no opposition in parliament, because there is no elected parliament. There is a legislative council, but it's entirely appointed by the Sultan. So when people say Brunei is stable, they mean it's extremely centralized and not exactly democratic. In 2025, the political system hasn't changed much. The Sultan still calls the shots, and most people accept it. Partly because of tradition, partly because the standard of living is extremely high, and partly because challenging the monarchy is not really an option. Public dissent is rare and risky. Brunei is also an Islamic state, not just culturally but legally. In recent years, the country made international headlines for implementing a strict interpretation of Sharia law. That includes punishments like amputations and stoning, though in practice these are almost never carried out. Still, the legal code is clear. And in 2025 it remains on the books. The Sultan insists that Brunei's laws reflect Islamic values, and the government frames this as a return to morale and religious authenticity. And now let's talk economy. Brunei's wealth comes almost entirely from oil and gas, as I said. In fact, over 90% of exports are hydrocarbons. But here's the problem. Oil doesn't last forever, and the world is slowly transitioning away from fossil fuels. Brunei knows this, and it's trying to diversify. In 2025, the government is pushing a long-term strategy called Wawasan 2035. And that means Vision 2035. It's Brunei's plan to build a dynamic, sustainable, and knowledge-based economy. So far, progress is cautious. There is investment in tech, education, halal, tourism, and green energy, but the private sector remains small, and most people still prefer cushy public sector jobs. Because who wouldn't when the government pays well and rarely fires anyone? Youth unemployment is rising, though, and there's growing concern that younger generations won't enjoy the same level of wealth and security, especially if oil prices drop or reserves run low. So diversification isn't just a good idea, it's essential. And socially, Brunei is conservative. It's not the kind of place with raging nightlife or outspoken activism. Alcohol is banned, modesty is expected, and LGBT rights are severely restricted. And freedom of expression is limited. Criticizing the monarchy or the religious authorities can land you in serious trouble. So most people just don't. The culture emphasizes harmony, respect, and keeping your opinions to yourself. But that doesn't mean Brunei is stuck in the past. The country is wired. Internet access is widespread. Social media is popular, though carefully self-regulated. And Bruneians are globally connected, even if their politics and public life remain tightly controlled. Internationally, Brunei keeps a low profile. It's a member of ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. It has friendly ties with both the West and China. And it rarely picks fights, and it's known for quiet diplomacy. Just think a calm, oil-rich Switzerland of Southeast Asia, minus the Alps, and with more gold palaces. Oh, speaking of palaces, yeah. The Sultan's palace is massive. It's one of the largest residential palaces in the world. With over 1,000 rooms, gold domes, and enough marble to tile an entire airport. It's the kind of place that reminds everyone who's in charge. So, what do you need to know about Brunei in 2025 in short? It's rich, tiny, and absolutely monarchic. Its political system hasn't changed in decades. Its economy depends almost entirely on oil and gas. It's religiously conservative, socially controlled, and economically cautious. But it's also peaceful, orderly, and so far, stable. Brunei isn't trying to be like anyone else. You would say it's doing its own thing. Quietly, strictly, and very, very royally. And now, you know why. This is Outside Views. Thanks for watching, and the next video is right here in the end screen.